Hello. Well, there is another transgender transcender to add to our growing list of role models and role models of faith. In this case, someone who was born as Jemima Wilkinson, born way back in 1752 to a Quaker family who were living in Rhode Island. And she initially lived apparently a fairly conventional life within her religious community. I was unaware of Jemima or the universal friend as she became known until I came across a YouTube video the other day, which was posted on the Crossstream Life forum of a Quaker speaking about the importance of inclusiveness for trans people within the Quaker tradition. I'll put the link for that video in the description for this video. So Wilkinson grew up in a fairly conventional, I imagine quite strict Quaker environment, but in 1776, she suffered what is most likely thought to be typhus, certainly some very serious illness, fever, unconsciousness, and it seems had a near-death experience. At least that was what they came to understand later. Now, this fever broke after several days, and Wilkinson claimed that their soul had ascended to heaven. And after this near-death experience, was replaced in the body by the title they adopted, the public universal friend, as a mission, on a mission, with a task by God through revelations, they claimed, involving archangels to preach a new message of equality, free will, and abolition. And from that moment, Wilkinson abandoned their birth name and refused all gender pronouns, instead insisting on being called either the friend or, more commonly, the public universal friend. This was a declaration that shocked their family and community, but they quickly drew a committed following, including particularly women and formerly enslaved people, understandably attracted to the message that they were preaching. And Wilkinson then declared that Jemima had died and that their body was now inhabited by a genderless spirit. They wore androgynous clothing. They shunned all gender pronouns, as I mentioned, and certainly the birth names, and went on to dedicate their life to preaching, mainly throughout the northeastern United States, advocating for free will, the abolition of slavery, gender equality, and sexual abstinence. And these values were, these teachings were rooted in the visions that the friend had or claimed to have following this illness during this time of being out of the body. They founded a religious community known as the Society of Universal Friends. It's slightly different from the mainstream Quaker movement. And they established various settlements, particularly in Western New York State, but also in Jerusalem, among other places. After the friend died in 1819, the society gradually dissolved over the following decades. Today, scholars see the friend as understandably, quite a pioneer of gender nonconformity and a significant figure in trans and non-binary history. So certainly someone that can be regarded as something of a role model for gender transcenders. I personally am attracted to the idea of the genderless soul. We'd have to get into a discussion of what is the soul, which is not an easy question to answer. And whether or why a soul should have a gender. Clearly, what the friend represented was someone who was on a mission to share what I would regard as being very noble values, divine, godly values. And this idea of what clothes they were wearing or what pronouns they were used was really irrelevant to the message they brought and the person they were. So I like this idea that we can transcend gender when we connect with our authentic, true selves. There are others, apparently, in the Quaker community who've also adopted this refusal to adopt pronouns. And again, there's quite a history here. So I learned actually from this very same video that prompted me to learn about the universal public friend that the 17th century English Quaker James Naylor used to sign themselves as something along the lines of the individual born into the body known as James Naylor, a signature that sort of pointed to this idea that our souls, our essence, our being transcends gender. So something there, I think, for those of us, a spiritual inclination to reflect upon. It's certainly something that resonates for me.